Hey YouTube, I'm Kenneth Ryan.
I'm Lindsay Reesop.
And we're back with another exciting episode of Fanfiction Friday. We'll be continuing where we left off in Star Wars The New Galaxy, so we're picking up on Chapter 23, which is titled Family Reunion.
So they might meet each other, wow.
Wow!
And last week, all of my named characters were killed off.
Yeah. So it's like me and...
So it's Kenny and Kenny and
Kenny. Lindsay, when
with,
new people show up, hopefully.
And potentially, like, the background characters.
Yeah, I'm gonna preface before we, begin that I have suddenly contracted a death illness of some kind. I'm gonna call it's not actually that bad, but It's
a cold that he always has.
Right, but this is, worse. My throat actually hurts this time.
Fun.
Which is why I've been, sucking on those sweet Ricolas. You know? And I've been coughing more, so I'm just so sorry. You'll have to deal, I guess. Anywho. Chapter 23, Family Reunion. And because Lindsay does not have very many lines, you can start.
Okay, because there's no dialogue for 90% of the first half
Perfect.
of the chapter.
Perfect.
Okay, Chapter 23, Family Reunion. Stay.
Stay.
I forgot to see. Stacy woke up from her sleep with a jerk. She could feel sweat running down her face as she slowly sat up in her bed. She wiped the sweat from her forehead with her hand and sighed. She sat in her bed, trying to remember the dream she had just had, but no matter how hard she tried, the memory would not come. She'd been having this problem recently. She would have a dream, then wake up, and have no clue what she had just dreamt about.
Is that a problem?
I don't always remember what I
was like, no, I'll wake up sometimes and be like, oh, I dreamt something.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I'll remember it, and then after 12 minutes, I'll be like, okay, it's gone.
Yeah, I feel like the wording problem. Is it a problem? I don't know.
I guess if it's never happened before, but if she always remembers her dreams, or if she
yeah, this is okay.
But still, this had never happened to her before. She had always been able to remember her dreams in extreme detail.
That
sounds fake, but okay.
It sounds fake, but okay.
But the past few days have been like this, unable to remember her dreams. That was 2 paragraphs of 2 sentences of just the same thing.
This fanfiction, many of the ones we read, has a tendency to do that. Yeah, where they'll just kind of repeat themselves a lot. And it's okay, well, we got it the first time, so...
Yeah. She threw her legs over the side of her bed and buried her head in her hands. After several seconds, she removed her face from her hands and stood up. After they had left the rundown hotel, they had moved to a much more comfortable hotel. This one was much, much better than the dump they had been staying at. That's what that previous sentence
means.
This one actually had running water. What? The other one didn't.
What? What hotels in New York don't have running water in 2008?
Is it a homeless shelter? Even then, they
would have running water. What the... Okay.
Okay. It was extremely clean and spacious. Her and Joe had separate rooms, but they could feel that they were each safe through the Force. Couldn't they have if they were in separate rooms, couldn't they have just gotten one room at a better hotel than their shitty hotel in the first?
I guess.
Whatever. And they can feel that they're safe through the Force. She walked to the kitchen area and grabbed something to drink.
When is the last time you were in a hotel room with a kitchen area?
Never.
They have a mini fridge underneath, the dresser they put the TV
and, a
on.
microwave.
If you're lucky, a microwave.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever hotels they're staying at.
Or there's a breakfast station down in the lobby with a microwave and stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, whatever. She walked to the kitchen area.
Yeah, and then she walked back to her bed and sat down on the edge. She popped open the can and took a long, big gulp. She's drinking the soda provided by the hotel, too? Dang, they're rich.
They are rich. I was they charge you $5. The standard
water.
Fee that I've seen is, they'll put a nice bottle of Fiji, you know? And it's so tempting. It's so tempting to be oh, this crisp water is available for the taking. But you crack that seal, that is a $5 charge. Yeah. And you know what you can do? You can get Fiji for, less than $2 at a gas station. Have done that, actually. So, it's ridiculous. Hotels drive me nuts with their upcharging.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Okay. She brushed her long brown hair out of her face and thought of what their next move should be now. They had already saved the director from the Sith once, and if he followed their suggestion, then he would be leaving the city by now. Douche. What else was there in New York for them? No, he's not.
No.
She thought that they should just return back to where the other Jedi are and come up with a plan to fight the Sith. Then she was struck with an idea. Why don't they find out where the Sith are hiding in New York? No one's thought of this before.
Wow. Brain blast.
Such an innovative idea. No one has ever thought this before. We should find where the Sith live.
Right. Wow. Gold star for you. Oh my god. Okay.
They know that there are Sith in the city from their attempt to kill the director of the Guardians. If they can find where they're hiding right now, then they could capture them and get them to hand over information pertaining to other Sith locations. But would Joe agree to this? Would he want to stop the Sith in this city before they left, or would he just blow it off? She would have to bring this suggestion to him when he woke up. Until then, she needed to clear her mind and get more rest. If he did agree to allow them to search for the Sith in the city... The Sith in the city.
That's what you mean. I know it's Sex in the City, right? Oh my god. Give me someone who's good at editing. Give me that. Give me the Sex in the City like theme, but like make it Sith Lords. I would love that.
Yeah. Then she would be in for a lot of fighting. Salvador packed the... Okay, this is...
Oh.
There was no line break or anything, but it suddenly jumped to Salvador, I guess. Okay. Salvador packed the last of Brittany's possessions into a box he had grabbed from another Sith's room. Why did the Sith have just a box? Whatever. Okay. He held the picture in his hands, a framed picture of him and Brittany.
No, he whispered to himself. That is Mike in the picture, not me.
Okay.
He threw it into the box, and the glass protecting the picture shattered on impact with the other possessions.
Okay.
He kicked the box across the floor to the other side of the room, then exited the room. He walked down the hall and stopped outside of another room.
They said room 3 times.
This is rough. I forgot how repetitive this one was. It's kind of like Clockwork in that way. Are we just stuck perpetually in that cycle?
Especially because you're doing the gold voice.
It's my hero voice.
I know.
I only have a certain range.
Yeah, we have too many characters.
Clockwork used up all the range I had. He knocked once, then without waiting for a reply, walked inside. The room was filled with smoke and radiated heat like a volcano. Just blaze, man!
It's a random building in New York. It's got the heat of a volcano.
Oh my god, a figure stood in the middle of the dense, never-ending layers of smoke. Do you have it ready? Salvador asked. The figure turned to face the newcomer.
What is his first?
Is this Kleb?
I have no idea. It's just a figure.
Oh, okay. Well, you're the figure.
I can be the figure, okay.
You should be. I have all the other characters.
I don't know what voice to do for this random.
I don't know. Make it fun.
Lord Salvador!
Oh, I hope they don't talk a lot.
Yes! Your new lightsaber! It started out hoarser, but then it got really...
Oh boy. It's like...
Yes! Your new lightsaber!
It's like fucking... It's not Gale, it's worse.
Your new lightsaber. I don't know if they can understand me.
Nah, I get you.
The figure threw something out of the smoke. Salvador caught the handle of his new lightsaber, and without a thank you, he whipped around and walked out of the room. Wow, douche.
Alright.
Back into the hallway. He had too much to do right now. He had an idea of how he could use his lie of how the Jedi killed Storm to get revenge for his failed mission. He walked into the main room of the apartment building where all the other Sith were gathered. They all turned and watched as he walked past them all to the front of the room.
Yeah, the room again.
All, like 4 times.
The room. Okay. The room. Did you know about the room?
They're in a different room.
Right. Next to the room, across the hall from the room, and then a couple rooms back is his room.
Yeah, he turned and faced them.
I have called you... Oh, God, what am I doing? Hero voice. I have called you all to this room tonight for a few simple reasons, Salvador began in a low-pitched voice. First, to say that Darth Storm's death will not be in vain. He was one of... V-E-I. It will not be in vain.
It'll be
like
an
the
artery.
Vein that carries the...
It'll be an artery.
It will be an artery. He was one of the best Sith Masters in the Order and will be honored with the justified revenge of that his death deserves. Uh-huh. Second, I believe I have located the location... Have you? You have located the location of the 2 Jedi responsible for his death, he explained. The crowd of Siths all began to whisper when he stated he had found the location of Storm's killers. They will not be there for long, he continued. They killed Lord Storm and will come after us as well.
I think this is a completely different voice now, kind of.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry.
It's fine.
We need to strike before they can strike us
undertones.
first. We need to strike with the fury and vengeance that we all feel right now. My throat's sore, so for some reason speaking higher feels better.
You're sick, so it's fine. Add the growly undertones.
He preached. We need to strike them not only for ourselves.
It sounds more heroic anyway.
He started.
Than your weird gold voice.
He started to raise his voice as he continued to speak. But for revenge for Lord Storm's death. For the past 8 years, we have only fought the Guardians, ignoring the Jedi and focusing on the enemy that both sides share. But they have broken that trend by killing one of us. They have reignited the war between the Jedi and the Sith. The crowd of Siths began to raise to their feet and clap at Darth Salvador's words. I like to imagine it's just like one guy who's really fucking into him. He's like, yeah, that's my guy. Everyone else just like, I guess. Like, how big is this crowd? And in which room are they?
Yeah.
I'm going to tear that apart because that drove me nuts. Anywho, Lord Storm appointed me to take his place as he died, and I will use that new power to bring his killers to their knees. He continued, we will show them once again how dangerous the Sith can truly be, and how they will pay when they kill one of us, he finished. The crowd was now cheering as he walked out of the room. Oh! Wow! That's our Sith. Maybe this is like...
That's my son!
Is this like the Rosie O'Donnell show? Where like everyone's just like clapping and cheering and he's just like, yeah, you get a koosh. I don't know if that joke is even relevant. When was the last time Rosie O'Donnell was on TV?
I don't know.
I also don't know. Oprah is a comparable. Maybe he's the Oprah of the Sith.
Oh, yes.
Now he had the rest of them backing him in his hunt for the 2 Jedi who brought his mission to failure.
Okay, there's gonna be 2 different characters here.
And now he could get his revenge. As he walked towards the door to the building, two robed Siths walked in his path. One of the Siths had short brown hair and a very slightly muscular frame.
Should I be both of them?
And
also, what? Because, I mean, you have both Joe, and Stacy.
Yeah, so I think you can do this.
Salvador. But what should they sound like?
Oh, I don't know. You give him just do it. Just figure something out and then commit to it. That's how I do
Committing isn't always a good thing.
Yeah, I know.
Then it's terrible.
They sound like they might be important.
Yeah. Because we want to come with you, Salvador, he said.
Mark, Salvador said. Why do you want to come with me?
Because, Mark took a step forward. I don't fully agree with your story, he stated. Nor do I. The second Sith said, taking a step forward. This Sith had short blonde hair and a skinny body.
Oh, me. That's me. Typecast me as this guy.
Me and Travis are coming, whether you like it or not, Mark said. We'll get to the bottom of this, Travis said.
Fine. Salvador shoved his way past them.
Wow, jerk.
Just don't get in my way.
I mean, sure, they're saying they don't believe you, but that doesn't mean you need to be a jerk to them, because that makes them not believe you more.
Right, I know. Why are you being a dick?
But how do they think coming with them is going to be like, hey, we're going to get proof?
Yeah, it's like, don't be a fucking tool.
I mean, I guess they could be like, hey, did you kill Storm when they meet the Jedis? And trust that they're telling the truth and they say no?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to prove this.
Yeah.
They're going to look at, like, Storm's body. I don't know.
And then there's no line break again, but it's also jumping scenes.
Stacy and Joe sat across from each other, Joe in deep thought. I see what you're saying, he said. But that was not our mission. Our mission is completed! So now we are free to start another one! She shot back.
I forgot about that.
Can you hear how much Stacy is going to fucking kill me? Oh my god.
You can try and find a way to make it less.
Besides, the Sith numbers here have got to be few like us. We can take them if we catch them off guard, she persisted. For the past 8 years, the Sith and the Jedi have avoided confrontations, he replied, standing up and folding his arms behind his back.
For her previous statement, the Sith numbers here have got to be few like us. There was a crowd. There was a crowd of them.
And we have Joe and we have Stacy. Oh, they're gonna get killed. Is this gonna be like Game of Thrones and like we think they're safe and then they are so not safe?
Yeah. Possibly.
Ooh, that would be a twist that I'd be into. This fic could really win me over if it does something like that. We're like
Salvador kill Stacy.
We're like Stacy's super fucking important, and then it's just like, nope, goodbye.
Nope, she's gone. There were plot points, but nope, they're just gone.
Yeah, it's like no, that's. Oh my god, we are taking our time with this one.
It'd be interesting if he killed her and that he didn't know that he killed her. She was just dead, and he just assumed.
He's just like, they killed my sister forever ago.
Yeah. That'd be interesting.
We'll see. The Sith have focused on the Guardians.
Too close to the mic there.
And we have focused on protecting the Guardians from their wrath. We cannot break this trend now, he explained. The trend has already been broken! Stacy jumped up. They attacked the director of the Guardians and we fought them! The trend was broken that very moment! This is, like, not the voice, but it's way easier on my throat.
That's fine.
She pushed. We need to capture the Siths here! That would not only weaken their overall forces, but it would give us valuable information if we can get them to talk! Information on future Sith plans, weapons, and tactics! It would help us protect the Guardians!
Why are you protecting the Guardians?
The Sith do not pair up in twos like the Jedi, Stacy, he replied. They most likely will have at least 10 Siths in this city.
There's at least 10!
Two Jedi cannot... I know, there's a crowd. 2 Jedi cannot take on 10 Siths no matter the rank and come out alive.
Cannot take on?
He explained. Oh my god, my throat. It would have been nothing less than a suicide mission, he added. Now, if we had more than just the 2 of us, then I would greatly consider your proposal. But we just don't have the strength or power to take on that many. But Stacy was cut off by a massive tremor in the Force.
Oh, wow, a tremor.
Joe felt it too. He walked over to the window of their hotel and gently pulled the curtains back. He saw 3 robed figures walking through the night and into the building.
That sounds dramatic.
3 robed figures.
Just walking in the night.
The Sith, he whispered. Salvador, Mark, and Travis made their way up the stairs to the 2nd floor of the hotel building. They had their lightsabers in their hands, but not activated. Mm-hmm. Salvador stopped outside the door he could feel the light side of the Force coming from. He kicked down the door, and at the same time activating his lightsaber. They're gonna fight again.
Nice.
He saw 2 other lightsabers activate inside the room, one blue, one green. The man and woman that had gotten in their way just a few nights before. Mark and Travis activated their lightsabers and charged the male Jedi. With those 2 idiots charging at the male Jedi, Salvador was left with the female.
Ooh, fancy.
Salvador rolled forward and spun around to keep his eyes on his opponent. His yellow eyes were alive with the rage and fury of a true Sith Lord. She made a move to run and help the male Jedi, but Salvador ended that little move. He leapt forward and cut her off from her companion. Your fuck voice. Your fight's with me, Jedi, he said in a dark voice. Stacy! The male Jedi yelled. Get out of here! Salvador's yellow eyes grew wide at the sound of that name. He glared at the woman as she seemed to be contemplating what she should do. I'm not leaving without you, Joe! She yelled back. Salvador spun around to face the male Jedi upon hearing his name.
You don't recognize your sister's voice.
Now that
it's been however many years now, like 5? How many years was it?
Puberty did a number. Remember, young Stacy didn't sound like old Stacy.
Because she had like 1 line.
Because I forgot what her voice was because I thought she wasn't important.
Yeah.
And then she came back. Ooh, this is gross, but I have like sunburn on half of my collarbone.
Wild.
And it's peeling now.
Fun.
I know, so I'm like peeling off little bits of skin when I touch my skin.
But he said her name, and you're like, oh, I narrowed my eyes or whatever at the sound of the name. And then she talked, and you don't think to make the connection at all.
Oh,
I guess. God. He doesn't know that it's Joe yet. Well, now he does, because she said his name. So now he knows it's Joe. So he's just stupid.
What's gonna happen next?
I mean, sure, it's in the heat of the moment, possibly, but also, Stacy! Yelling, Joe! Hey, it's the Joe I know. Maybe Stacy is also Stacy.
Ay.
Although he did think she was dead because he felt for a pulse. Or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
But whatever. Anyway...
Salvador spun around to face the male Jedi upon hearing his name. Now that he got a better look at the Jedi, he realized he knew how he was. He was that Jedi who had said he would help, but left him for dead by the Guardians. In a flash, Salvador dashed over and spin-kicked Joe through the window of the second-floor hotel room. Joe smashed through the glass and fell to the parking lot below. "You two take the girl!" Salvador yelled, jumping down to meet the Jedi who had failed him. Salvador landed on the ground, and the Jedi sprang to his feet and held his lightsaber in defense position in front of him. "You lied to me," Salvador muttered as his rage began to boil even hotter. "Failed you?" Joe repeated.
What?
"Who are you?"
You lied to me. Failed you? Who are you? It's like he didn't say you failed him. He said you lied.
But he said... This author said it in the text and just thought...
I guess.
Rookie mistake, Cloud 4 something something.
Yeah.
411. I'll say it when we get to the next chapter. Mm-hmm. "Darth Salvador," Salvador answered. Joe's face was filled with shock at the sound of the Sith's name. "Mike," he whispered. "Mike is dead," Salvador yelled. "Killed with his family and the only woman he's ever loved." He pointed the tip of his lightsaber at Joe, but just the tip. "You abandoned him and left him for dead. By the time I arrived at the house, you were nowhere to be found, so I had to make a choice," Joe yelled back. "What choice?" Salvador asked. Joe was silent. "Who is that woman up there?" Ooh, got like Brooklyn. "Who's that woman up there?" he asked, indicating the hotel room where the sounds of lightsabers clashing could be heard. "No one," Joe answered, dashing forward. "Just tell him and he will probably join your side. That's his sister."
Anyways, continue.
"That is his sister. Just tell him."
Yeah.
Salvador blocked a slash that would have otherwise taken his head clean off and pushed the slash aside. He brought his knee up to knee Joe in the face, but Joe was backflipped out of range of his knee.
Okay. He brought his knee up to knee Joe in the face, but Joe backflipped out of range of his knee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Salvador knew that Joe did not want him to know who that woman really was, but why?
You're stupid. Stacy!
Stacy's mom!
She hasn't even taken a code name. She doesn't even have a code name. It's literally just her name.
I know!
And I had to make a choice. What choice?
Okay, so Darth Salvador's the protagonist's voice works well with him because he's kind of an idiot.
Yes.
And you know who tends to be idiots? Anime protagonists. Salvador knew that... Oh, I did that. Okay. The red and green blade of the Sith and Jedi clashed over and over again as they continued their fight. As they fought, Salvador's anger and rage were growing stronger, as was his power. He was quickly starting to overwhelm the Jedi and push him back. He unleashed a devastating barrage of attacks on his opponent, and noticed a slight opening in his defense and took full grasp of it. He thrust out with the dark side and shoved him backwards and leapt forward and brought his fist down on the top of the Jedi's head. Joe's face slammed into the ground with the impact of a boulder.
Okay.
His skull shook and several of his bone broke on impact with the cement ground.
His face?
Shit!
Like his cheekbone?
In my head...
If his face slammed into the ground...
In the anime that this is, I feel like there's like a slow-mo and like you just like see like gross face movements and just hear crunching.
Or they do the thing where they like have an x-ray and show the
Oh, you like see them cracking? That'd be even cooler. Oh my god.
With like a lightning, I don't know, effect of somehow.
Oh yeah, like the "oh shit, I fucked up" anime effect.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I actually recently... Never mind, I'll tell you off camera.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's not something I can talk about. Mm-hmm. Salvador stood over his opponent, who lay on the ground, face in the cement, his body not showing any sign of moving. Salvador bent down, grabbed the back of the man's head by his hair, and pulled his face up from the ground. "Now talk. Who is she?" What is this voice? Why is it never consistent?
I don't know. It doesn't
he
matter.
asked. When the Jedi did not respond, he slammed his head into the ground and pulled it up. "Who is she?" he yelled in anger. No answer. Slam!
He'd be unconscious.
He slammed the Jedi's head into the ground once more and pulled it back up. Talk! Who is she? Joe's face was covered with blood. The pain running through Joe's body was crippling. He felt like his whole face was on fire from the pain and the blood. He knew that he would most likely die here, but he would not give up Stacy to Salvador.
Why not?
Is this when Joe dies? Are we losing Joe?
Continue.
This is like the Game of Thrones of fan fiction.
Continue.
Salvador stood up and unleashed a wave of Sith lightning that ripped through Joe's body. Joe's body... If they used apostrophes, this would be easier to tell where their name was.
Yeah.
Joe's body twitched and flopped around on the ground as the electricity tore through his body. Talk! Ooh, that was not him, but aggressive anyways. Yeah, Salvador screamed over Joe's screams. After several seconds of extreme torment, Joe broke, Your sister!
You sister?
You sister! In one instant, Salvador severed Joe's head from his body.
He just fucking died.
This is literally, in terms of, like, character death, very similar to, like, how quickly some Game of Thrones characters show up and die. No spoilers, by the way. I'm only on season 4. It was a reflex he could not control. He flipped up on the air back into the hotel room.
Your sister! Slice your head off! Wow, what a reflex. Because that happened.
Jesus. Stacy was pushed in a corner, barely able to... He's killed both of his mentors from when he was a kid already.
Yep.
Stacy was pushed in a corner, barely able to hold off the two Siths from killing her. Salvador dashed forward and sliced Travis in half with one slash from his blade. Oh, they weren't important.
Apparently not.
Mike spun around, lost his head a moment later.
He died too. They had two lines. Yeah.
The two bodies collapsed to the floor in front of him, and he stared at Stacy, who was in total shock of what just happened. Why did you just kill your own friends?
Friends?
She asked, confused. Without an answer, Salvador punched Stacy in the face, knocking her unconscious.
Oh, you need to knock her out. Just punch her straight in the face.
This, in movie format, the way it's playing out in my head is actually hilarious.
He didn't even, neck slicer. He just punched her straight in the
It's literally slash into the building, slash punch. It's hilarious the way it's playing out in my head. Oh my god, she fell backwards onto the floor, her lightsaber deactivating and falling out of her hands. Salvador deactivated his weapon and clipped it on his belt. He bent down and picked up Stacy's unconscious body and walked out of the room.
Yay,
that was a half hour, basically.
I mean, and that was not a long chapter, was it?
We spent a long time with analyzing.
This one's not that long either, but it's probably going to take us.
Because, listen, there's just so much to analyze. There's so much happening here.
Repeating and also, yes.
All right, well.
So now we're down to, 2 characters.
Jeez, I know.
And they're both you.
I'm so sorry.
Fine.
It wasn't supposed to happen.
It's fine.
All right, well, you can read because it's,
Sure. New chapter, plus no dialogue for the first
Yeah,
time.
They want to hear you.
Yeah, that's what they come for.
Hell yeah.
Stacy slowly opened her eyes. Oh wait, chapter 24, brother.
Excuse me, thank you.
Oh wait, and what was the author's name?
It was Cloud. Cloud 411.
It is 411, okay.
Yeah.
You were right.
I was right. See, I remember.
Yeah. 411.
Could be that. 411.
Okay, Stacy slowly opened her eyes, unaware as to what had just happened. It was probably a while ago, so it's not just. Anyways, the last thing she remembered was that Sith killing his own comrades, then punching her unconscious. Her face was numb with pain. The Sith's punch hurt even more than she could have imagined. How hard did you punch your sister in the face?
Hard, I guess.
And couldn't you,
hard enough to knock her out in one hit.
Yeah. Couldn't you have, pressure point, back of the neck?
See, that would have been smart. Is Darth Salvador smart?
No. She winced as she sat up where she was laying. She was in some type of solid rock room. The rocks that made the walls and the ground beneath her were wet, black, and some were very sharp. Why are you putting your sister just
in prison
on the ground in a wet room of stone?
To weaken her? I don't know.
Could have just handcuffed her to her bed or something. Your bed.
Except that kinky.
Could be, yeah, incest. No, bad. She looked up and closed her eyes for a moment as a drop of water hit her in the face. Chinese water torture. The ceiling of the room she was in was filled with very sharp-pointed rocks, dripping water to the ground beneath them. It's like a cave.
She's like literally in like an old-timey prison.
Yeah. But it's got stalactites and stalactites.
I know. She's like straight up in a cave.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, is their hideout in a cave in
I don't
New
know.
York?
He might have taken her somewhere else.
A cave in New York?
I think he took her somewhere else.
Possibly. He might not. He probably wouldn't have gone back to the Sith
Right.
headquarters.
Why would he? Why would he?
Yeah, he's probably gonna abandon the Sith too at this point.
We'll see. We'll see. We should read.
Yeah, okay. Stop,
We've been analyzing it
analyzing.
awful.
Stop
An awful
predicting.
lot.
Sometimes we're right, and then it's like, oh yeah, we were right. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. The only source of light was a tiny candle in the corner of the room where there was no water dripping down from the ceiling.
Oh,
Okay.
convenient.
She slowly pushed herself to her feet with great difficulty. Her hands kept on slipping on the wet stone floor. No. That's not how that works.
Okay.
Unless it's like smooth, but you said it was rough, so no.
I don't know.
After several attempts to push herself up, she finally managed. It took her several attempts to... whatever. Her body felt weak and drained. She
I'm not
felt as though
questioning
she had
it.
not had anything to eat or drink in days. She'd been unconscious for days. Did he punch her in the face that hard?
I don't know, Lindsay. We're gonna find out.
She started to look around for Joe, wanting him to be there with her.
Ooh, honey.
Ha.
Honey, he doesn't have a head anymore.
She looked all around the room, whispering his name as she went, Joe, Joe. No.
Joe.
But
Joe!
nothing. He was not there. She was alone in the cruel grip of an evil Sith Lord. Why didn't he kill her? This question burned in her mind. He'd even killed his own comrades. Why did he only knock her out and drag her here? Why wouldn't you just assume rape right away? I know it's obviously it would be terrible, but wouldn't that be like the first thing you'd think? Possibly.
Probably.
Like, hey,
2008 was a different time.
I guess. But even then, it's like, hey, I've been kidnapped by my enemy. Even though he kills everyone else. Why?
Yeah.
Unless she's assuming that... I guess she might be naive and assuming that he didn't kill Joe as well.
Maybe.
I guess.
Yeah.
The Sith don't kill people. What are you talking about?
Killed their own people.
Anyways, she grabbed the tiny candle and used it to light her way around the room so she could find a possible exit. She moved from one corner of the room to the other, trying to find some possible way of escape.
Right.
All the walls were solid rock, with no gaps, no holes, no openings. As far as concealment went, she was completely sealed in the room.
Yeah.
Is there a ceiling room door?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. With like a ladder. She's in the basement. Sex dungeon. Basement.
Ah.
Except there's no handcuffs or anything else. It's just a solid room.
Just rocks.
Rock. She tried to reach out with the Force to find anything she may have overlooked or missed, but her ability to call upon the Force was somehow severely weakened at the moment. She could not call upon it at all. She placed the candle on a large rock in a corner of the room and sat down on the ground next to it, so basically back where it was, because it was the only corner where there was no water.
Yep.
She pulled her knees up towards her face and rested her chin on them. She wrapped her arms around her legs and just sat there. She was a prisoner of war. The Sith were brutal monsters. She could only imagine what this Sith was going to do to her to get her to talk about whatever he wanted to know. She came to a decision, gripping her legs closer to her chest. She would not talk, no matter what this Sith did to her. You're not a trained warrior. Joe kind of trained you, but you're basically a teenage girl.
Like, you're not trained to be a prisoner of war.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to just withstand this torture. I just assume I'm going to be able to do that. Because I decided not to.
Whatever you think, honey.
She would not betray her friends that she had made during the past 8 years. Oh, it's been 8 years.
Right.
She would not betray the people who had become like her new family to her. How many Jedi has she actually met? There was
All
that
the ones
one
in the cave.
There was Joe, and there was that one girl.
All the ones in the cave.
And there was the one she knocked against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, okay. Blah, blah, blah. Where was
She was
I?
not a coward.
She was not a coward. She was not afraid of death or suffering. She had been suffering every day since her family was all killed. No, you've made friends and you've been trained. You haven't been suffering at all. You haven't even fought anyone until like
Right?
this.
Like, you fought 2 battles in your life.
Yeah. Oh, I've been suffering because, yeah, your family's dead.
Well, so is her mentor.
And now we're mentors. She doesn't know that.
Right, but like...
But it's like people live after their families have died.
Oh, yeah. You get over it.
You don't suffer every day.
Like, it's hard, but
you
you get over
mourn
it.
them, and you might miss them every day, but you're not suffering.
Right.
Well, I guess. So, it could be. Not really. Okay. She buried her head behind her legs. Behind her legs? And her legs are to her chest.
So, like this?
Like, oh,
She's hunched.
It's probably between her legs.
She's very fetal.
She needed to be strong enough to fight off whatever torture the Sith was planning, and strong enough to escape alive. Okay. She started to wonder what had happened to Joe. Before the Sith that had knocked her out returned and killed his comrade, she could have sworn that she heard Joe screaming. Could it be possible that he... No! She yelled in her head. Joe was one of the most skilled Jedi in the Order. One Sith alone could not take him. It just wasn't possible.
Oh, Stacy.
Naive! She suddenly heard the sound of footsteps walking on the rock ground. How? You're in a room. She picked her head up and started to look around. The footsteps were coming from the other side of the wall she was sitting against. She jumped up and returned to the wall. The wall! What wall is it? It's the wall. The
wall.
Footsteps followed along that wall, turned behind another wall, then abruptly stopped. There was a tense silence before the rumbling sound of a large moving boulder made her turn around. A large piece of the wall was beginning to move to the side. She stood her ground, staring through the new opening in her dark and damp hellhole. A black-robed figure appeared in the opening. It was the Sith that had knocked her out and killed his own friends. How do you know? Do you recognize his face?
Yeah, I guess.
But then you know it's Mike, because he hasn't changed that much, probably. Unless it's like, hey, you look like you have the same body type. You're the same Sith.
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
Your chin looks the same.
Bruh.
Whatever.
I don't know.
He held a candle in his right hand and created a very bright glow that filled nearly the entire room.
Yeah, he's got a super candle.
The Sith's eyes were no longer yellow like she had last seen them. They were now a shade of black, so she can see his face.
But she can't tell it's her brother.
Apparently not.
Who are you? The Sith asked in a somewhat loud voice. Who are you? How hot was that? Who are you? She asked back, not caring if she offended the Sith or not. The Sith stood there in silence for several moments before answering. I am Darth Salvador, Dark Lord of the Sith.
Why is he answering first?
Darth Salvador, she repeated. I've heard of you before, she added. Now answer me. Who are you? Salvador asked. You answered me, so I suppose I can answer you,
What is
she
this?
replied.
I'm your
Ooh,
captain.
gross.
Who are you? Who are you? I'm Darth Salvador.
Darth Salvador, nice to meet you.
Oh, you answered me, so I suppose I can answer you too. I'm Stacy.
My name is Stacy, she answered. Last name? He demanded. Why? She shot back. Why do you want to know my last name?
Why does it
she
matter?
asked.
Your family's dead.
Depending on your answer, you may live another few minutes, he answered. Stacy was very confused at this point.
She doesn't recognize his voice either.
Nope.
And she may live another few minutes if she answers that she's his sister, so he still might kill her.
I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Was Salvador looking for someone particular, or was this just a game he has cooped up to toy with her?
Oh, I need to know your last name. This is just a game to toy with you.
The Jedi, I tell ya. More! She answered after several seconds of tense silence.
More, Daddy. No.
She noticed Salvador's eyes grow big and wide at her answer. Stacy Moore? He repeated. That's not possible. Why not? She asked. Stacy Moore is dead. Fuck. He answered. Hey, you asked me for my last name and I told you. She yelled at him.
Why is she yelling
Now
at
you're
him?
calling me a liar?
Why is she yelling at him?
Teenage
He's your
girl.
captain.
Teenage
I
girl.
mean, she's probably 20 at this point. If she was she like 12, 8 years ago?
No, I think she was like a literal child. I think she's like 16. I think she's a child.
Maybe.
Salvador took several steps towards her. Stacy took a step backwards until her back was pushed against the wall she was in front of.
You were facing the wall that the door opened, and that wall was like literally where you were sitting, so you should be far away from the wall behind you.
Look.
Unless you turned and standing, like, next to the doorway.
Lindsay, you're over it.
I know.
I'm giving up on the... I'm like, listen, I'll accept the conventions. Mike Moore, Salvador said, after stopping several meters from her. Does that name mean anything to you? Stacy was even more confused at this point. Yes, she answered. That's my brother's name, but he's dead, she added. She saw a smile spread on Salvador's face. Dead, huh? He asked.
Huh.
Yes, 8 years ago, she answered, confused. How do you know him? She asked curiously. Because... He moved the candle to fully illuminate his face.
This candle supposedly illuminated the whole room. And it didn't illuminate his face from, like, 2
The
feet
Sith
away.
are all extra as fuck.
I guess.
This doesn't even... Given the track record of every Sith dramatic entrance,
Yeah.
I am not even kind of surprised by this.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be Mike Moore, he answered. Stacy stared at Salvador's face for several moments before she realized he looks almost exactly like her brother.
Wow, you look exactly like you used to. And I didn't recognize you until now.
We're all dumb in the Moore family. We don't know what our own siblings look like.
Yeah.
But there's no way. Joel told her that he had died, was killed by the Guardians 8 years ago. Did he lie to her for the past 8 years?
Yes.
Was Mike truly alive and falling deeper into the Sith and
Yes.
he did not tell her?
Yes.
Mike! She said, taking a few slow steps towards Salvador. Salvador stood still, watching her as she approached. You're alive! She whispered, placing her hand on his face. At her touch, Salvador's left hand shot up and snatched her wrist. Was alive. He shot back. He threw her wrist away from him, and she stumbled backwards.
With your sister that you thought was dead for 8 years.
Any part of me that was Mike Moore died several days ago.
Several days ago.
Up until like 5:55 yesterday afternoon, I was Mike Moore, but now I am now Darth Salvador. Fuck. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
He told her, and no one else. What's happened to you? She asked, not making another move towards him. The Jedi have lied to you for the past 8 years, saying that your brother was dead, he said. Figures, he added.
Okay.
What's happened to you?
She repeated.
She shouted. You never used to be like this.
He's in the Sith for 8 years.
Salvador closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them and stared into Stacy's eyes. I grew up, he answered simply. Grew up, she repeated. You've become evil, she shouted back. You've become what you said you wanted to destroy when we were growing up.
Did he ever really say he wanted to destroy evil? Not really.
No.
He just joined whichever side was good for him at the time,
Yeah,
pretty much.
no, this makes sense. He did the thing that made sense to him.
Well, I guess he joined the Dark because he wanted power, but he's like, hey, I don't know that I can kill people, so he joined the Jedi, but then he killed people, like, straight away.
And then he's like, well, I guess I'm the Sith.
And then he joined the Sith after Joe betrayed him, kind of, by, like, leaving him for dead or whatever.
Yeah. Events have the ability to change one's perspective on a lot of things, he replied. Mm-hmm. I thought I could be a decent man in an indecent time. I was wrong. I thought I could change the world by performing good deeds for everyone. Civil services, law enforcement, protests, all the weak things that normal humans are forced to do to maintain their sense of justice and purpose. He explained.
He wasn't that, like... what's the word I'm looking for?
Socially conscious?
Sure. He didn't... None of that was mentioned.
I know.
He never talked about civil service or being a police officer or
Yeah,
anything.
I
Or
know.
going to protest. Even with Brittany.
He's just making shit up.
Yeah.
Then I found I have this ability I had that others shared. Jesus Christ. I learned from them how to change this ability from a hindrance into raw power. This is the power one needs to truly change the world. This power by my side, with this power by my side, I will do what I spoke of growing up. I will change the world, he shouted. Mm-hmm. Stacy couldn't believe what she was hearing, what she was seeing. Her brother never talked of power like this. Her brother would never have traveled down this path just to gain what he has gained. With death came rebirth, he said after a long pause. With her death and his death, I was born. He held up his hand in front of his face and clenched it into a tight fist. Anime.
This is so dramatic.
Darth
With her death,
Salvador.
his death, I was born.
Whose death? Stacy asked. Brittany was killed several days ago, and with her death came Mike's death as well, he answered. With Brittany's death came Mike's death. With Mike's death came my birth, my reign of power. Wrong voice, but I just fucking rolled with it. Where is Joe? She asked slowly. Back at the hotel parking lot, he answered, his face buried in the cement.
No,
he added.
You decapitated him. His face is wherever it
landed. Stacy was almost brought to her knees by those
but...
words. Dead? She whispered. Correct, Salvador answered. He needed to pay for what he had done. Stacy could not hold herself up any longer. She fell to her knees. Her knees splashed in a puddle as they hit the cold floor. Salvador turned his back to her and strode over to the opening in the room. He turned to face her once he was on the other side of the opening. More now, he said. Soon this war will engulf the entire world and there will be no time for mourning. Soon the world will be mine. The opening in the room closed.
Ooh.
Oh,
Dramatic.
jeepers.
She didn't even try to escape.
So like, I know this is cutting it short, but I need to deal with my throat right now immediately. And we've taken some time. We'll fix that. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm so sorry that I've got this death disease. It'll be over soon, maybe. Yeah. Basically, we're just gonna keep reading this, so, if you like the video, be sure to give it a like. If you have a fic you'd like us to read on the show, leave it in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we put out new videos every day, and Fanfiction Friday comes out every Friday. And, yeah, make sure you hit the bell. I've been told I should start adding this to the YouTube outro. Make sure you click the bell so you get notifications.
Yeah, because there's people who subscribe to us who want notifications.
I don't know. It's part of the YouTuber spiel, man.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know. Until next time, stay awesome, read more smut, and I will hopefully not be dying. Bye.
Bye.